Well, hello, good evening, and welcome. We have just a few folks on the line right now, but we are so glad you're here. Welcome to this live telephone town hall meeting we have for you tonight with Shenandoah Valley Electric Cooperative, or SVEC. Again, hello and welcome. You're live on the line with SVEC for our member telephone town hall meeting. Now, we do these calls as a way to reach out to you and open up the conversation, and we want to hear from you tonight. So you can just listen in and learn from our live conversation, but if you'd like to submit a question, comment, or concern, please press 0 on the keypad on your phone. Again, to get in line with your question, just press 0. All right, and with that, let's go live right to the room to kick off our meeting tonight. We'll start off with SVEC Board Chair Jerry Doffelmeyer. Sir, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jerry Doffelmeyer. I'm the chairman of the SVEC Board of Directors, representing the Central Region, which includes Page and Shenandoah counties. On behalf of the board, thank you for listening this evening. Whether you are new to the co-op or have been a member for decades, we are proud to serve you. We are closing in on our 90th anniversary. SVEC has a distinction of being the first electric cooperative chartered in Virginia in June 1936. Within 2 years of our charter, we energized nearly 100 people in the western part of Rockingham County. In the ensuing decades, as the valley has grown, so has the electric cooperative, which now serves more than 104,000 meters across about a dozen jurisdictions. 90 years. That's no small feat for any company. But for our cooperative to have that lasting local impact while providing an essential service to friends, family, and neighbors brings with it a lot of pride. We want to continue to acknowledge our co-op's history while looking ahead to serving our ever-growing membership base. Thank you again for tuning in.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We are really looking forward to that. Thanks so much, Jerry. As a reminder, if you're participating over the phone and you want to submit a question, just press 0 to give that question to an operator. If you're with us on Zoom, you can use that Q&A feature. Just click the Q&A button, type up your question, press submit, and we'll be able to see it there. I do have one note, though. Please don't ask account-specific questions during this call because it is a public forum. And again, as we bring you live on the air, please limit your time to no more than 2 minutes so we can get to as many folks as possible this evening. Now, before we get to your questions, though, let's bring on our president and CEO, Greg Rogers. Bring him live onto the line. Sir, please take it away.
Thank you. I'm Greg Rogers, President and CEO of Shenandoah Valley Electric Cooperative. As we go along, please remember, if you have any questions, press 0 to enter our queue. We will get to your answers in a moment, but first I want to cover a few updates. On April 1st, SVEC filed with the State Corporation Commission a revision to our distribution rates. Our proposal will increase the average residential member bill by about $6.50 per 1,000 kilowatt hours used. Like many organizations, we have seen the cost of doing business continue to rise over several years. At the same time, the cooperative has continued to invest in the safety and reliability of our system, which includes building out the latest technologies that can detect and communicate issues along our lines. If approved by the State Corporation Commission, the changes would take effect for bills rendered on or after May the 1st. We were also notified recently of an increase to our members from our wholesale power provider, Old Dominion Electric Cooperative, or you'll hear me referencing them as ODEC. This increase will also take effect in May, and it will add about $11 to an average residential member's bill for about every 1,000 kilowatt hours of use. This increase represents the power supply cost that SVEC pays for the generation and transmission from ODEC. At the ODEC level, the increase is from several unplanned factors, including weather and Virginia regulatory changes. In January and February 2026, which you might recall there was an extreme weather event and a prolonged cold temperatures. These weather events increased natural gas prices and caused significant power market volatility, driving wholesale power prices even higher, well beyond the anticipated seasonal highs. ODEC implements a comprehensive hedging program to minimize generation fuel cost volatility, but conditions like we saw during Winter Storm Fern were well outside the norm and led to historical price increases for energy during that period of time. The ODEC level increase also incorporates projected compliance costs associated with the Virginia's anticipated reentry into the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, or RGGI, or also referred to as RGGI, a state policy that requires power generators to purchase carbon allowances. These additional costs are required under the state law and are passed through to SVEC members at cost without markup, because ODEC only charges SVEC for the actual cost of producing or procuring energy. The ODEC portion of your bill is represented as the electricity subtotal portion at the bottom of a typical residential member monthly bill, and is entirely separate from the distribution charges from SVEC that I spoke about earlier. Regarding SVEC's rates, it's important to note that as a not-for-profit electric cooperative, excess revenues are returned to members over time through the capital credit retirement process. This is an important differentiation of our business model compared to investor-owned utilities. The next round of returns are expected this summer. I suspect that there are questions this evening surrounding data centers as it relates to what you pay for electricity. To those concerned about costs, please know everyone pays their fair share towards SVEC's distribution based on the applicable rate for that member. Every rate is designed so that each member pays proportionately. The State Corporation Commission calls this parity and reviews this as part of the process of approving any rate adjustments for SVEC to assure fairness across all member classes in maintaining the electrical distribution system. For the large loads, such as the biggest data centers that we have that have been in the news, we filed with the State Corporation Commission in October a petition requesting approval for what's to be called our Large Power Dedicated Facilities Contract Services Schedule, or LPD2 for short. Large loads like hyperscale data centers, for example, that fall under our requirements for this new rate class will be responsible for all costs associated with bringing them online. Putting these large loads on an entirely separate rate class will protect existing members from subsidizing new large load consumers. I hope hearing that addresses some of your questions this evening. Once again, if you have any questions, please press 0 to enter our queue. I'll wrap up my remarks by saying that our next major communication with our members will be regarding annual meeting and director elections. In June, members will be mailed a proxy for meeting participation and a ballot for this year's board of director elections. The meeting will be held via telephone, just like tonight, on August the 6th. Unlike tonight, you will need to RSVP for the annual meeting once we open the registration in June. If you cannot listen to the meeting as it happens, you are encouraged to return the proxy that will be mailed to you. A proxy helps the cooperative meet its mandated quorum for attendance by allowing members who cannot attend to be represented by a member who can. We also randomly select winners for bill credits to anyone who RSVPs or sends in their proxy. This year, we are offering more bill credits than usual in recognition of our 90th year of service, as Jerry mentioned earlier. Voting for the board of directors will occur by mail and online at the same time as the annual meeting registration and proxy returns. Information on the candidates running for the board will be published in the June issue of Cooperative Living. They will also be up on our website later this week. Cooperatives rely on members electing fellow members to serve on the board, which is another unique aspect to the structure of self-governance. Please consider participating in the annual meeting and the election process this year. So as we move into our 90th year of service, we do feel we are as busy as we've ever been. However, we are no less focused on the same mission of providing safe, reliable electricity at the best possible value. On behalf of our more than 275 employees and our 9-member board of directors, I want to thank you again for being engaged members tonight by listening in. I also want to take a minute and thank all the employees that I just mentioned for all their hard work in making sure that our members are getting all that they need. Now I'll get back to Allison. I'll get Allison back on the line so she can help get us started with the Q&A portion of the town hall. Allison?
Perfect. Thank you so much. And yes, we've got questions coming right up at you. A few hard ones, yes, you knew we would get. We've got Mike in Winchester up first, but quick reminder, you can press 0 if you're with us on the phone to submit your question like Mike did. Also, we have a few folks who are with us on our Zoom simulcast today. If you have questions over there, just click that Q&A feature, type up your question, press submit, and I'll read that over the air for you. But first off, Mike in Winchester from the phone, you are live right now. Please go ahead with your question.
Great. Hey, thank you very much. So I'm concerned about data centers, and I really appreciate that you've already addressed it somewhat already. Thank you very much. And I think you called it LPD2. My question for you is, has that been approved, and is that definite or is that a plan? Like, how do you know for sure that they'll be paying, that data centers would be paying more, at least their fair share or more?
Okay, Mike, thank you for that question. Yes, it has not been approved yet. It has been filed with the State Corporation Commission, so it is under active review. We are extremely confident that the setup that we have in regards to the distribution charges are set up to isolate. We, here in the Valley, we actually, we're one of the few cooperatives that is not all residential. We enjoy the wide diversity of having a lot of commercial industrial load for all the decades that we've been in service. And so we have always made sure that cost causer pays, setting up our rates in that way. In this particular case, it gets even a little bit easier in that regard because most of these facilities require dedicated service infrastructure, which I mentioned is kind of in the title of the rate structure that we put together. So what that means is that we're able to isolate those costs a lot easier from the distribution perspective and make sure that all of those costs that are related to that get passed on and are not subsidized by other members, be it our residential or even our existing commercial industrial load. So in regard to that, we feel really confident that we're set up that way. When it comes to are we, able to reduce the number, we are an electric cooperative that is certificated in the state of Virginia. And so honestly, if anybody meets our requirements out there, they could come and apply for service, and we have an obligation to serve them. All of our efforts going into over the years, making sure that we have things in place that make sure whatever causes the cost, that it passes through to that rate class of payer. And we think we've done a good job here with the distribution aspect of LPD2, as I mentioned. Thanks again for your good question.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks so much, Mike, for those great questions. And that is our president and CEO, Greg Rogers, answering your questions live tonight. We have Timothy up next before Patience, and then Timothy in Morrietown. You're live right now. Please go ahead with your question.
Thank you very much. Question is related to what kind of financial incentives are planned to help residents lower their bill, things like time of use ability with smart meters, and or rebates or other help with purchasing more energy efficient appliances like a heat pump water heater, for example, or other technology that might help lower the use of electricity in our homes.
Yeah, thank you, Timothy, for that question. We do at SVC, we offer some energy efficiency guidance mainly in the aspects of weatherization type stuff. We offer things that help make sure that your home is lowers it as best as it can. We also are we're evaluating some future tariffs with ODEC, I mentioned them earlier, our power supplier, in ways to look at demand response that might include efficiencies, whether that be through any of the programs you mentioned, whether it be weatherization, whether it be maybe time of use for electric vehicle. All of those things are up for being able to be utilized. But currently, right now, the main one that we have is looking to make sure we provide guidance for folks as best we can there.
Excellent. Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Timothy, for joining our conversation tonight. Let's keep going. We've got Patience right away before Ben and Anna. Patience in Rockingham. You're live. Please go ahead with your question.
All right. Good evening. Thank you so much for this. My question is slightly related to what Timothy asked, but it's specific to do with batteries. Is there a way to currently have batteries installed in people's homes to store power and use during high demand times? And if not, is that a possibility?
I know technically out there are some batteries that people can install on their homes. We do have some net metering users that do that, or you don't have to be a net metering user to do that. We don't offer that through the cooperative through any program. Right now, from a battery scale technology perspective, they're still a little bit out of the money as to when they can be utilized to be able to be the most productive. Some of the peak periods, obviously, we're getting to the point in these cold snaps that I mentioned that happened over the January, February timeframe. It was very difficult during those timeframes to find a period where you could actually charge the generators that they weren't the batteries, so that were being used, that could be utilized maybe during the peak periods. But we continue to evaluate that both at the wholesale power level, ODEC level. We continue to look for opportunities to install those there, as well as any other opportunity out there. We are currently not doing it at the individual member level, but we do have a few installations across the ODEC footprint that we're looking to see if we can add value to and lower the bills by installing batteries.
Excellent. Great. Thank you so much, Patience, for that question. You are asking your questions live right now on our SVEC meeting. If you have questions for your co-op, press 0 if you're on the phone. If you're on Zoom, you can type those up and submit those by utilizing that Q&A or question and answer button. But right away on the phone, let's go to Ben in Augusta County. Ben, you're live right now. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm curious. We get a lot of U.S. mail that is from Dominion Power, and they are just one street over from us. We're kind of on the Stanton line with Augusta County, but we are technically Augusta County. So we really enjoy the SVEC power and all of its amenities. They offer a insurance, I guess, for water line from the house to main service, and I'm just curious, does SVEC offer anything similar or the same?
I appreciate that question. First of all, Ben, I'll acknowledge your thankfulness to be on our system. Always appreciate hearing our members make that comment. Currently, we cover the service that goes all the way up to your house that interconnects at the weatherhead, or if it's an underground service at the meter socket. So if something happens in those areas where the cable goes bad, we are responsible for replacing it. Over the years, there's been different programs to provide different things to the inside of the home. There have been some in the past for arresters and high voltage protection, and all those usually end up being is more of it, like you mentioned, an insurance policy. We don't have a lot of active work in that area covering things past the meter inside the home. And really, we rely a lot on a very good group of local electricians that are out there. Those guys do a great work for us. A lot of them are our members, and they are much more effective at handling the problems inside the home we're more geared toward and making sure we're focused on what happens from that meter socket back towards our substation. So right now we don't have any products that really get heavy into that area, but certainly appreciate your question and certainly look for opportunities to serve our members better. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. That is our President and CEO, Greg Rogers, answering your questions live here over the air. So thanks so much, Ben. Up next, we have Anna in Broadway. Please go ahead.
Yes, good evening. I have a question that a lot of people on Facebook, I've noticed, have had this question. And I've really noticed a really bad problem with power outages, especially in the Singer's Glen, Newmarket, Falks Run area. And it seems to be because, I don't know if it's because of this or whether it's just a coincidence, but it's because of this, ever since they started this glow fiber installation that I have no idea where it came about or what have you, because nobody in my area has ever said that they wanted glow fiber in the area. But it looks like everywhere they're putting it in, and it seems like now we're having more power outages than we've ever had before, and especially in those areas. So I was wondering if maybe you guys can look into that as to maybe it's causing problems and maybe get it corrected so we don't have as many power outages in our area.
And I really appreciate this question because this is a pretty important one, and you're probably right in suggesting what may be one of the drivers is we are doing a lot of work across our system for folks that are attaching to our lines to provide internet service to the members that are out there. We're also doing, as I mentioned in my remarks, we're doing a lot of safety and reliability work on our system as well. And so as we're out there and we're doing a lot of work on behalf of our members, there is a lot of times when our guys are working on the lines when they literally have their hands directly on the conductor. And it's important for when they are in that mode for us to change the safety settings on our protective devices so that if something gets across the line, that it trips out as quickly as absolutely possible. So a lot of what you're seeing now is we have a lot of folks on a regular basis needing to put these lines into that safety setting. We call it hotline tag. If you ever hear that term, that's what that means. We have a lot of we have a lot of work where we're requiring that to be done for the safety of our workers. A lot of times the outage that results in that trip usually did not have anything to do with the actual work they were doing, but because we have it set on that very, very sensitive setting, we're running into a tree branch that may blow up against it, or a squirrel that may get into the line, or a small accident hits power pole and shakes the wires. All these kinds of things that normally would just be a temporary or momentary outage results in a permanent outage. Now, what we try to do is respond as quickly as possible, and we recognize that in some of the areas around the cooperative, there have been just out of circumstances, they have had a lot of repeating outages as we're out there every day, maybe working in a particular area. We try to track that as best we can, and if we need to give a break to an area and maybe work around it, we do our best. But for the most part, we're trying to make sure these things stay scheduled and stay complete on time, trying to get the ultimate benefit of whether that be the fiber for what we're required to do on behalf of ISPs, or just system improvement work that we're trying to do to make sure that if a storm comes through, we're out there replacing this stuff in a controlled environment where we can get it back quickly. We do apologize for those outages, but I do want to make sure everybody is aware that that setting is there in case there's something happens unplanned and somebody gets across that line, that it opens up as quickly as possible to help protect them. So thank you for that question, and I really do appreciate it. I do apologize that we have had some areas around the areas you mentioned, as well as in the Augusta County area, which have experienced some extended trips, mainly because of this setting. But it's really important for the safety of our workers. And so I appreciate the chance to share that so everybody understands. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely, Anna. Thank you so much for bringing up that great conversation starter. We've got Vitally up next before Oren, Timothy, Adrian. We are having a great conversation tonight. Keep it coming, everyone. Right now, Vitally in Weir's Cave, you're live right now. Please go ahead.
Yes, hello. Thank you for taking my call. I appreciate that. I've been a member for like a long time, for 20-some years now. And I got a question. Like, if I want to install like a solar panel, do I pay like, I understand you guys required to pay to buy my electricity back, and if I don't use it, so if you buy it back, do I get charged for like delivery fees, maintenance fees, and all that stuff? And another question is, with the new governor, all the taxes that she proposed and everything, and that new green initiative deal, how much should I expect my electrical bill to go up? That's it. That's just two questions. Thank you.
And I appreciate those two questions. A little bit separate, so I'll take them one at a time. The first one relative to the maintenance for solar, if you're interconnected with our system, and the other caller a minute ago asked about batteries, honestly, the cooperative is probably one of the best battery backups as far as solar goes that's out there. We do charge the basic consumer charge, and that covers all the things that we have to do just to interconnect you as a member to the system and maintain you as a member to the system. So the meter readings, all those things. Also, from the maintenance perspective, in order to make sure that line is there overnight when the sun's not shining and the other hours where you're not getting contribution back from your solar panel, we need to do things like make sure we keep vegetation management up on all the lines. We need to replace the lines that are aged. We need to do all those things. So honestly, I know that there are a few people that go totally off grid with solar and battery as their backup, but basically we provide what I think is a very good value. If you put up the charges that you're left with against a battery backup system, I think you'll find that the cooperative is a fairly good offset while you enjoy all the benefits that your solar, whether it be rooftop or on your property, provide to you. So I think the answer is yes, there are a lot of charges relative to being connected with the co-op that still are there, whether you're getting your energy internally or not. So we always have to have all that infrastructure in place and ready to go should you decide, or should the sun not shine, or for whatever reason. To answer your second question relative to the RGGI bill, the estimates that we're seeing from our wholesale power supplier looks like it would be about $3 to $5 average bill per month on a residential bill. So about $3 to $5 additional after about July 1st when that bill goes or when that order goes into play. So that's about what the impact of the RGGI process is in order for to secure those allowances that we would need to do under that re-entry into that system.
Got it. Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Vitally. Let's keep going. Get as many questions as we can. We've got Oren up live in Gore next. Oren, looks like you've got a couple of questions. Keep in mind we want to hear from as many folks as possible tonight. Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. Hi. How are you this evening, all? I just hoping you could talk a little bit about the tariffs. It looks as if the tariff refund process is going to be kicking off shortly. And I speak mainly in the federal, some of the ridiculous tariffs that the administration has applied. I'm sure it has. I know it's affected it affects the electrical, components, equipment, machinery, all that kind of stuff. If and when that type of money comes back into the co-op, how is that used or dispersed? Does it come back to members? If you could talk a little bit about that, that would be fantastic. And I think my second is more of a comment that I think it would be very heartwarming for especially the low income. I've recently went through a series of health issues and had a real bad struggle over the winter. I'm starting to come out of it, but I do feel for some of the folks that have a longer period of hard times. And it would be, I think it's more of a comment, if the co-op itself had some type of reservoir of funds that low-income families and individuals could access, as we can access state and federal plans. But I do understand that when people go out to get other resources through state and federal funding, sometimes they run out, especially on hard winters, hot summers. And if you do have time to speak a little bit about something like a program like that would come directly from the co-op and not necessarily getting us kind of shuffled off to the state and federal programs, that would be fantastic. So it's kind of a two-parter, the tariffs and the some type of low-income funding help.
Yeah, I'll cover the low-income funding one first. Being a member-owned cooperative, there's really no profits or anything in excess to take any of that stuff from. So we are all together as one. Whatever we pay for as the membership. However, what I will say is our member services teams know a lot about all the different avenues, and not all of them come federal and state. Some of them are provided. The folks that are doing it may be getting their funding that way, but there's churches, there's all kinds of other nonprofit groups and other things that are out there. And so I encourage anybody out there that is having trouble, call our member services team. For your area, they may be able to point out one or two more additional types of funding that you may be able to reach out and see if you're eligible for. They are very versed in that. We get pledges from those organizations to help cover a lot of members who are struggling out there. And those organizations are better equipped at understanding what people are going through and making sure that they know what is available in those processes. The tariff question is a good question, and I will tell you, I participate at a high level on a lot of the materials that we end up buying from across the country, and tracking back the effects of all of the things that impact material cost is very, very difficult. And so the good thing about being part of an electric co-op is we are not for profit. So if we get anything back, and if we have charged for something and now we're getting a benefit and it's not there anymore, that is collected in the form of margins and returned to you, as you mentioned, is the capital credit program over time. And so bottom line is that if there's any part of our organization that ends up, if we're able to lower costs, if we're able to drive efficiencies out there, if we're able to do any of those things that helps keep the prices lower than what we have as far as our set rates, then those would be gathered in the forms of margins and returned to you all, the members of the cooperative, and not to stakeholders or other things like maybe investor-owned utilities might have. So anyway, that's two really good questions. There are some out there. We are seeing that some of the prices are fluctuating, but as some other materials are getting more scarce, that's becoming more of a driver. So all of those things weigh in. It's not a real easy answer of if the tariffs go away, will the prices come down? But certainly, if there is any benefit, you're gonna be able to see that in first in the allocation of your margins, and then over time the returning of those to be able to help pay with to help pay anything that you want. It comes back to you in the form of a bill credit if you're an active member. Thank you for your question. That's two really good questions there.
Yes, and thank you so much for those answers. All right, up next we have Timothy in Broadway before Adrian and Inca, Freya, Sam. Let's keep going. Timothy, you're live right now. Go ahead.
Okay, I got a question on this capital credit. If you're late for your bill or whatever, you got money paid into your capital credit, but the only way you can get the capital credit is y'all give it back, but or if you got to die or decease to get that, and it ends up being a son or daughter or something. That is one question, and so that is one question. I had a couple more, but that's no big deal.
And I appreciate that. Obviously, as when I talk about the margins that we produce, those margins are set there to allow us to operate for when major winter storm, anything that comes up, those tariffs that may get put in place in between the time frame, effects on material costs in between the time frame that we have rate adjustments. We have to have money to make sure that we operate there, and that's what those margins are produced to help us cover. And then over time, as we know that those funds that we collected are no longer necessary, that's when we can give them back. So it's not like an active account. It is more about what the members collectively put in there so that we can cover extraordinary or unplanned costs. And then when we don't have those costs, we make sure we give those back. So I understand that. I know seeing those is difficult, but over time, remember that is yours because you're part of the co-op. For most companies, that would just be profit that would be going to investors and other folks. And so as we have those things, we do allocate it to our members to make sure ultimately they get them, they get them back over time. But I appreciate the question, and I appreciate your sentiment in regards to that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Timothy. And maybe a bit of a follow-up one here for you, sir. We have Adrian in Star Tannery. You're live right now. Please go ahead.
Oh, my question is sort of the same. I'm fairly new to this, and I keep hearing all these credits, and I don't think I really understand. Like, so if I'm listening to the last caller, you don't get them ever back. They go into an account that's for you later, and maybe when you either move or when you die, I guess you get it back. I hear this, or do you have to like serve on the board to be able to get money back? It just isn't clear to me as a new member. I don't really know what that means, that we get these credits.
I appreciate that, Adrian. And probably even a longer conversation than I'm going to have here might help you get from ground zero. But I will say, basically what happens every year is we operate and we maintain the business. At the end of the year, whatever we spent and whatever we collected produces on the distribution side of the business a margin. That margin is allocated back to all the members based on the amount of energy that they used. Then what we do is we have that excess money there, as I mentioned with the last caller, to help in case there's a big storm next year, or if there's some unplanned event, when COVID hit, whatever those things are, they happen every year. But we're also at the same time, every year, we're looking back at the old capital credits. And right now, what we're doing the last couple of years, I won't state what will happen this year yet at this point, but the last couple of years, we retired some of the oldest capital credits, and we retired, which is another word for refund and using your parlance there. And we retired some of the ones that just came in last year. So we have done a percentage of both, which means every year we're given a little bit of something back. And obviously, if you've been a member longer, then those levels are usually a little bit higher than if you're the same size member and you just started with us. But there are capital credits that come back in those forms regarding either of those methods. So you will see some type of, as you're calling it, refund, which in our parlance is a capital credit retirement, is what you'll see. So hopefully that helps. But if not, give us a call in here and let us do a little more explanation where we might be able to give you a little more in depth using your account information.
Perfect. Thanks so much for that clarification. Great question. Love the conversation we're having tonight. All right, let's go to Yinka up next in Luray. You're live right now. Yinka, please go ahead with your question.
Okay, thank you. I moved to Luray just 9 months ago, and I need to say the power is very reliable. I don't have any problem. It's been good for me. However, 2 months ago, during the winter, there was an advisory that we should reduce power consumption because we're hitting the peak of your supply limit. I turn off my freezer based on that. But what I'm saying is that I've not heard anything concerning your plan to grow, to increase power supply in anticipation of the next winter, and also in anticipation of the new services that are coming in, like the data centers and everything. How will you be able to cope to ensure we have reliable power next winter? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Yes, now the transmission, as I mentioned, transmission generation costs are pass-through costs from our wholesale supplier, who obviously gets them charged to them. And so we don't have any direct correlation to building transmission lines. However, PJM handles that as part of their process to maintain reliability throughout the entirety of the system. There are several active projects out there in mainly the northern Shenandoah Valley, the Valley Link line, the Morrow line. Again, we are not planning these, nor are we building these as the distribution cooperative. However, they are out there, and they are there through the planning process. They were submitted to PJM to solve a particular constraint that might be out there on the system, and they're being put in place to help address those. Now, at the same time, ODEC and Shenandoah Valley, as a member of ODEC, are extremely involved with the legislative and regulatory processes, making sure we stay active in the conversation surrounding the allocation of transmission line costs with our members. So again, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, how we focus on from the distribution level, making sure the cost calls are paid. We're making sure that we get our voice heard out there to make sure that we understand how transmission allocation will be handled through PJM, and we're making sure that we're active in those arenas to give good advice to make sure that that those do match cost calls or pays to the best of our ability. So there are a couple of lines out there. Obviously, the transmission facilities builds affect people locally. We understand that. We're aware of them from time to time. Again, we're not the ones actually building or constructing them, but we recognize that that comes with a lot of local impacts. And so all of those, there are very good sessions that are held out in the communities when a power line is going to come through. I encourage you to go to those and make sure that you understand what's going on and going through your property. But again, these lines are put in place to help alleviate a constraint that might be out there. So there is some active work out there right now in our territory as well as others, and that's all being handled at the PJM level.
Great. Thank you so much for these answers. Your President and CEO, Greg Rogers of SBEC. Let's keep taking on these questions, sir. Giving them to you rapid fire. Doing great. We've got Freya up next in Augusta County. Freya, you're live. Please go ahead.
Good evening. I would first like to thank the co-op for some exceptional service out here in Hildebrand Church area. We have very few outages. I know it's because of the hard work you guys put into this and keeping, your associates happy. My question is, as far as a current campaign, is there one to maintain and maintenance on utility poles or replacements here for the private property owner? And if so, what is the cost to the private property owner, or is that covered under the expenses for the electricity?
Yeah, so if you're referring to the utility poles that we own, and we try to own most of ours, we try to place them on private property because of the impact of placing them on road or public land where we have to, but as they have relocations and other things that affect those, that cost usually comes back to our members. So we try to keep them on private property to the best of our ability. And if those poles are owned by us on private property or wherever they're owned, we maintain them. We inspect them. We replace them as needed. we take care of all the maintenance of them, and there's no localized charge to any landowner based on just the facilities on their property that are owned by the cooperative collectively. So we do take care of all of that. Now, we do have several farms around who enjoy the benefit of owning a lot of their own infrastructure, and they may own secondary poles that run from barns and stuff, and that may, that helps them keep maybe the cost down of having multiple meters and stuff like that. So those poles we do not do maintenance on, but anything owned by the cooperative, we are responsible and we provide all the maintenance on those. We basically look at them, we decide what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, how fast, and then we resolve it. So I appreciate that question, and I appreciate your comments earlier about the reliability. It does mean a lot to hear those on here, so thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Freya, for joining us. We've got Sam up next in Verona. Sam, you're live right now with our president and CEO. Go ahead with your question.
Hey, thanks for hosting this, and thanks for everything you guys do. I appreciate your words about in good faith and being a little reassuring about these data centers and everything like that. I feel like every time I've had an interaction with someone from your team about price spikes, I've heard something along the lines of we're kind of at the mercy of ODEC. So what faith how can we be assured that ODEC is operating under the same good faith guidelines? And as SBEC members, do we have a voice in anything that they do? Like, can we contribute to a town hall meeting that they host or something like that?
That's a great question, Sam. So I'll take those in a couple of different ways. So first of all, they are, as a wholesale power provider, they are FERC regulated, which means they are the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission is the one who makes sure that all they do lines up with what they said they're going to do. And if there is anything regarding that, then that's all run through that process. And I feel the utmost confidence in all that they do through that process. Now, remember, they're our conduit to a lot of this stuff. And ODEC is a member-owned organization, just like this one. There's 9 other electric cooperatives that own ODEC. And just like this, it has the same last name as us, cooperative. It is a pass-through of what the costs are. There are no profits that come out of ODEC that anybody shares in other than all the members. And it goes back to each of us as member cooperatives. We're one of 9. SVEC is one of 9. We all have board members that are on the board. I myself am on the board. I'm actually the secretary of the board at this minute. And so we are actively involved every month in all the things that they do and provide oversight to all the things that they do. So I feel really strongly that they're there. Now, I'll tell you, one of the main responsibilities that ODEC has, and when we say ODEC, they're our conduit to the market when it comes to market prices. But ODEC does a lot of things that helps hedge and mitigate the prices we would pay. One of those things is they own power plants. If you own a power plant, then it doesn't really matter what the market value is. There's a value offset to that, and our members have some value offset. They have enough generation to supply the capacity side of what we need for about 80% of our load. So that's a fairly big hedge. They also do hedging on energy pricing as well as fuel. So I talked about the fuel cost, the gas pricing going up during that brief 10-day period. They help do hedging so that if normal events occur, we don't get price spikes to the best that we can. And so they do an outstanding job making sure that they do as much as they can to hedge the pricing in that environment. So I feel pretty strongly that, one, we know what they're doing, one, that they're operating in good faith, and really the job that they're doing on behalf of our members to make sure that the prices are mitigated to the best of their ability and our ability. But we do have great insight to that, Sam. I want to reassure you that we understand, and we're very active in the space with them pretty much all the time. So thank you for your question. That's a really good one.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Sam, for joining us tonight. We've got Josh up next in Strasburg. Josh, you're live right now. Please go ahead. Josh, are you there? You might have us on mute.
Oh, yes, I'm here. I apologize.
Oh, you're fine. Go ahead.
So kind of going back to the whole solar thing, for members who are interested in installing solar, does Cooperative have any recommended installers, partners, or organizations that you trust or regularly work with? And if not, are there like specific criteria or certifications you suggest members use when trying to choose a solar company that will integrate well with the co-op's grids and programs? And I know you might not be able to be specific, but like, are there any companies or organizations that have successfully completed, I guess, multiple interconnections with Aspect, or that your team finds easier to work with from a grid and permitting standpoint?
Josh, that's a great question. At the co-op, just like I mentioned that multitude of awesome electricians that are out there in the valley for you to utilize for behind the meter work, there are a lot of great companies that do solar installing. We do not endorse anyone because obviously we support them all. Our job is to make sure that their interconnection goes smooth as possible. However, we do have specific folks here at the cooperative that know a lot about solar. They know a lot about the impacts of solar on your bill, and make sure that two things. One, make sure you know the right questions to ask any solar installer to make sure the product that you get in the end is going to produce the results that which they propose or project for you. And the second one is making sure that you understand from our perspective the likely changes to the bill, because nothing's worse for us than a solar installer who promises the world and then they go away and we're left with then somebody who had high expectations, and unfortunately we're not in the position to change any of that, especially if it's done from their side on the solar. So I encourage you to call in. One of our experts will call you back and walk you through the process. Make sure you understand the process in addition to what these solar installers do, and make sure that you know the right questions to ask them to make sure you get the answers, to know that whatever you sign on the dotted line for, you're going to get that return or that result that you expect. So that's a great question. Please call us. We're always grateful when the member calls us first and talks it through with us before reaching out and maybe getting themselves already signed a contract and getting into a bind with one of the installers. So, but we do not endorse anyone specific. So thank you.
Great questions, Josh. Thank you so much for those answers as well. Let's go right away to Carolyn in Shenandoah. Carolyn, you're live right now. Go ahead.
Hi. Thank you for taking my question. Back January, February, when we had that, those several, seems like weeks, but it was days, I guess, the cold weather, a lot of us here, well, I guess most everybody here in Page County got a text saying that you may need to cut off everyone's electricity here in Page County so that you'll have enough electricity to serve our neighbors in the northern counties. Needless to say, that was quite upsetting. I would like to know why you picked Page County, and if you can address this.
Yeah, that situation, and so first of all, let me address the end of your question first. So we don't, honestly, in most cases, taking off one county to the benefit of another county is not really the way the grid works. It is set up individually with lines that feed all of the locations. The warning that you're talking about went out regionally, and it was a widespread. It actually covered our entire territory plus a whole territory to the east of us. There was a lot of communications going out during that event, warning of possible, the need to possibly have power outages and reduce power directly, have rolling blackouts or have a blackout. We shared that because it was being shared more globally. to make sure our members weren't caught if it did happen. However, I will say that was but one contingency, and it was very far down the line as to what needed to actually happen. So if we would have gotten to that point, several other steps would have been taken by PJM, by the regional transmission operators, by Shenandoah Valley itself, if that's the case, before we would have gotten to that mode. But so fortunately, we did not get to that mode. There were things put in place that helped move that possibility of that contingency further down the list. But I will assure you that it wasn't Page County being interrupted to be able to put Shenandoah County or Frederick County or Warren County or anybody back in. It was literally a regional call to reduce usage to the best of your ability to help the entirety of the grid regionally, and not anything specific to that. But when that word went out a little more globally, we felt like if it did get down to that low level contingency, that our members deserve to be notified like others. But at the end of the day, that was a lower level on the priority, as far as there were a lot of other things would have had to come through to get to there. But again, I want to reassure you, if we take out folks in Page County, that usually meant that there was a localized issue with a particular line feeding that county that we would need to help relieve and adjust in that response. Or it would be a whole regional operation where you wouldn't be doing it on behalf of another territory. I hope that answers your question. That's a fairly complicated situation, but hopefully the reassurances there, allow you to know that that would not be the case. You would not be asked to do that.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. All right, taking as many as we can. Going to go right up to our full hour here. We have Gary in Cross Junction up live next. Gary, you're live. Please go ahead.
Well, thank you for taking my call. I'm been in Cross Junction for 10 years, and my mother-in-law moved in from Baltimore, and I was born and raised in Baltimore. And the last ice storm threat was, we're all going to lose power. And my mother-in-law said to me, don't you have a generator? And I was like, no, I don't have a generator. I've never lost power. If I have, it's been 10, 15 minutes. And then, of course, my wife looked at me and said, hey, you have to have a generator. But I never lost power. And I want to thank you.
Thank you, Gary. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I
appreciate those sentiments. I appreciate those sentiments. As I said in the end of my remarks, I appreciate all the hard work that our employees put in to make sure that our system, a lot of times people ask me, hey, we got this storm coming up. What are you guys doing to prepare? And I like to answer that by saying our folks prepare 364 other days of the year for that storm to come. We do all the programs that we can to make sure that the system is in a place to best respond, if not totally eliminate. We can't do that, but best respond to outages and get them back in quickly, as you mentioned. So I always appreciate comments like yours, Gary. I appreciate that sentiment.
Yes, absolutely. Such a great team at SVEC. Thank you so much, Gary. And with that, my goodness, we have reached the end of our allotted time. We took as many questions as we possibly could. Again, thank you so much to our President and CEO, Greg Rogers, for answering so many of your questions, but to all of you for staying on with us for this hour and for submitting your questions. Now, if you still do have questions, comments, or concerns, please just stay on till the end here and leave us a voicemail message by following the prompts. Now, if you need a response back, please leave us your name and contact information. Please spell it slowly because we have to pull those off that voicemail old school style. But again, cannot thank you all enough for joining our conversation tonight, and let's keep the conversation going. Please find us online, get social with us as well, svec.com. Again, thank you all so much for a great rest of your evening. Have a great rest of your week. Good night.